You're listening to The Sports Fix.
Portions of the Sports Fix brought to you by Harry Buffalo. Catch every UFC pay-per-view live in full HD at Harry Buffalo North Olmsted, just outside Great Northern Mall. Harry Buffalo. Join the herd.
Sports Fix listeners, don't wait all day or all week to get in on the fun. The party doesn't stop when we go off the air all week long. The Sports Fix social media sites are your one-stop shop for all things Cleveland sports. Jump over to Facebook.com/TheSportsFix, Facebook.com/TheSportsFix, and become a fan today because we love fans and they create some of the best sports talk in town, Daddy. You'll enjoy talking to your fellow Cleveland sports fans on the Sports Fix fan page. And if Twitter's your thing, well, you know how we do it. Tweet with us at The Sports Fix CLE. It's that simple.
Twitter.com/TheSportsFixCLE, baby.
Chat live with the crew during all your favorite Cleveland sports events, tickets and contests and trivia and so much more. Get with us today, The Sports Fix on social media, Facebook.com/TheSportsFix. Tweet with us at The Sports Fix CLE. Join The Sports Fix on Facebook and Twitter today.
Hey, it's Hugh Hewitt, and when I want to know what's going on with the Cavs, the Browns, and the Tribe, I tune into Sports Fix.
Live in Ohio, it's time to get your fix. The Sports Fix.
And there we are, on the air. We are. I can't lie. This morning, it was touch and go, man. I was just telling somebody a few moments ago. I said I'm inhaling the coffee this morning, getting it going. Long weekend, fun weekend, productive weekend, but a very long weekend on my end here. It was a beatdown weekend in many different ways, man. Yesterday, I'll tell you what. Being out of town and running around all weekend, yesterday caught up on some stuff, man. Oh, I'm going to talk about it in a minute. Jessica, talk about beating the brakes off of somebody, man. We'll talk about that in a minute. Buckeyes, Buckeyes are at it in two sports here this weekend. We're going to talk to Dan Wismar about. There's so much to do. I don't even know where to focus this thing down on. Welcome in, you guys, to the Sports Fix. Of course, the Browns, the Cavaliers, record set. Talk about beatdowns. I come home Saturday to the beatdown extraordinaire over the weekend with the Cavaliers, Browns, Buckeyes. We got a ton of stuff to get into today, and let's do it. Let's get it rolling. I was joking about being half dead. It's the aftermath of my weekends here when I go, oh yeah, man, because I'll tell you what. I talked to you guys about doing my wrestling thing, and I was out doing that here Friday and Saturday over this past weekend. And Saturday night, I will say, I've had, not saying that the stuff I've done hasn't been, brilliantly fantastic, but for the last few years, I would probably say the match I had Saturday night right up there with anything I've done for the last few years. Man, it took a while to get back to that place, but when, you get to Monday morning and you go, oh yeah, that's what happens when you have matches that are that good, man. You wake up feeling like you were run over by a freight train, man. So, but I'm with it. It was a great weekend. By the way, thanks to everybody that came out. It's a good night when they run out of chairs and they hit the locker room and they go, everybody up. Of course, I pulled my knife out of my bag and I said, you ain't getting my chair. But anyways, that's always a good sign when they run out of seats in the building. Fantastic night was had out in Erie, Pennsylvania the other night. Thanks to you guys that came out there. Thanks to the guys that came out Friday night as well. And got some other stuff coming up I'll tell you about, but came home, got caught up on all kinds of sports goodness, debauchery, beatdowns going on. Like I said, Cavaliers, Jessica doing her thing, representing in Mexico, Buckeyes, Browns, and we're going to talk about it. Of course, today, it's Monday. That means I'm not doing it myself. Well, I'm never doing it myself because I'm going to crack these phones here in a moment and let you join me. But John McMullen from the Sports Network, he's with us here just about 30 minutes from now. We're going to talk to John as we always do. Not just about the Browns. We'll talk about Houston. We'll look forward to what's coming up this weekend. Atlanta. We'll talk about Josh Gordon. We'll talk about all the other things that went on around the NFL as well, too. Man, again, if you don't see it here in every game, you can go and look at how this is just the strangest And the NFL has always been fluky sometimes, but this is one of the strangest seasons with just every week, all these things. Look at Cincinnati. They bounce back from looking like a JV team against the Browns to doing what they did. St. Louis switches quarterbacks. It looks like the train's falling off there. They can't get any running back, any traction over there in St. Louis. And then they do what they did yesterday with Denver. I mean, Philly looks the way they do, and Green Bay looks the way they did earlier. And then yesterday, you see, 50 spot dropped once again by Aaron Rodgers. Man, NFL has been all over the place. And yesterday, the Browns, we saw what happened with them, and it's crazy, man. It's just I get the parody thing or whatever, but man, this year, and it's not just us. You guys have said it. A lot of the guests that we talked to this year, it's more than ever these extreme swings. Good luck. The gamblers are making a ton of money here this year because the unpredictability is at an all-time high for sure in the NFL. We're going to talk to John McMullen about all of that, about the Browns. Alfred Blue I'll tell you what, I don't even want to guess what Arian Foster may have done yesterday, and the injuries too. Browns getting thinner and thinner. Kendall Lewis, it rang during my game so many times, thinking to what we were talking about the other day when he said, man, how many injuries can you go before you run out of the next man to come up? I mean, even a good team reaches that point, let alone a team that's still building its depth. Man, we saw some of that there as they just got thinner and thinner up front. Sheard, Dansby, I'm really worried about Dansby. Sheard may just be a high ankle sprain, which it's not just. That still could be something. But obviously, Dansby needing an MRI with his knee. That's one of the leaders. You guys know Dansby's been one of the differences in this defense leadership-wise and in his play. And that's definitely one that's tough. That you say next man up. It's a lot easier to say next man up when you got a very close separation. I mean, next man up when it's Alex Mack, when it's a guy like Carlos Dansby, when it's those kind of guys, it's a little bit different. You still got to do it though. Still got to do it. Sheard too. He's been one of the best guys, one of the few guys that's gotten consistent pressure on the quarterback for that Browns defense here when they've needed to. We're going to talk about all of that with John McMullen. We're going to talk Buckeyes hoops, Buckeyes football, baby. I'll tell you what, they survive in Minnesota. Like I said, I had to catch up on everything. I mean, I had to overdose in the last about 27 hours on everything that happened Friday night, everything that happened Saturday afternoon, all the games, everything from Saturday night to fight. I had to watch it all yesterday and the Browns game. And I was still watching stuff this morning, trying to catch up because I like to make sure I've seen the things that I'm talking about before I come out here and talk about them. So I had to really overdose on the sports over the last 24 hours or so. But Buckeyes, we're going to get into all of that. CSU tipped off, tough start to them as they dropped their opener. Got the home opener coming up. Cavaliers, we're going to get into all of that. Man, ton of stuff. As I said, Dan Wismar, John McMullen, and you. Welcome into the Sports Fix. J-Rock with you guys, kicking off another week here on the Fix across the Sports Fix Radio Network. Thank you. Whether you're joining us live on TuneIn, on TuneIn's radio app, perhaps worldwide. That's one of the favorite places for a lot of people to listen to the show. Crystal clear, and you can literally get it anywhere on any device. Welcome in everybody else on Spreaker that's listening live there. Love the guys there, the digital app. Many of you listening on Mixlr. Got my guys over there in the Mixlr chat room as well. Always a great time. Thanks to you guys for joining us live on the sportsfix.net, the home base, the mothership for all things Cleveland sports. And, of course, hello to everybody listening on digital delay 24 hours a day around the world on iHeartRadio, the world's largest internet radio provider, on Spreaker and SoundCloud and on all of the iTunes, everybody that downloads us there. However you may subscribe or get the show fed, thank you so much for being here, you guys, each and every weekday at noon right here, as we said, across the Sports Fix Radio Network. Be a part of the show because this is our thing, baby, and I want you to do it. Kick us off on the phones, 216-539-7535, 216-539-7535. They're open. Hit us up on Facebook and Twitter, facebook.com/thesportsfix. Tweet with us at thesportsfixcle. Email us, thesportsfix@aol.com. Again, facebook.com/thesportsfix. Like the page while you're there as well. Become a fan of the page. Nearly 21,000 fans of the Sports Fix on Facebook. Tweet with us at The Sports Fix CLE, and you can email us, thesportsfix@AOL.com. And I'll tell you what, it's staying strong so far. Like I said, I'm on pot number 2 of coffee here. But for those of you guys, that if my voice goes in and out a little bit, I did. Last night, I really wasn't sure physically if my voice was going to be able to do the show. It was cracking so bad from all the. If you've ever seen me wrestle, you would understand why. I am definitely quite the effusive personality out there with people, and it was no different over the weekend. But it's going good so far. So if I do, though, if you lose me a little bit here, guys, apologize for that. Let's roll on. Before we get into the Browns, I'm gonna get to them. Obviously, we're gonna go into what happened yesterday with Houston. But I was talking about it. We talk about surviving and beatdowns and all of that. I got to start with Jessica I. We had her on the show, of course, a week and a half or so before the fight. She came on here. You guys heard her. She said it. She said, I'm going to finish her. She said, I'm going to go finish. I'm going to smash her. She said it right here on the show. And she said, I'm going to go commit a felony in Mexico here. No offense, but Leslie Smith is in the wrong place at the wrong time. And I'll tell you what, her trainers or whatever, whoever made this strategy, for those of you that don't know, fight was stopped because Jessica ruptured a cauliflower ear on Leslie Smith, and oh man, I'll tell you, you've got to go watch the clip. Well, I mean, if you're squeamish, you shouldn't. I'm going to tell you that right now. If you're like a fight person, if you're all testosteroned up and you're into that kind of thing, go look it up if you didn't see it. The clip's out there. UFC's they've already released the fight out there. You can go see it. At the moment of impact, Jessica hits the ear. He hits the left ear of Leslie Smith, and like a water fountain, you can see as she ruptures the cauliflower ear. Cauliflower ear, it's an old wrestler, amateur wrestler type thing. I had a teeny smidgen of it at the top of my ear at one point there too. It's basically where you jack the cartilage up in your ear so much, and it happened a lot to amateur wrestlers because they get ground on in face locks and front chanceries and holds like that, and it basically ruptures blood vessels and then it cauliflowers. It hardens up, it calcifies and becomes like a calcium deposit. And anyways, it ruptured. And I'll tell you, usually fighters have that dealt with, because what can happen if you don't is what happened in that fight. Man, jacked her with a punch. The blood shot 3 feet up in the air. You could just see it if you slow-mo the thing. It, like a fountain, goes right up. And, very graphic. So be careful. If you're at work, it's definitely something that if your work's watching what you're doing, you may get in trouble for watching that one. But anyways, then they almost stopped the fight, and Leslie Smith, hey, look, man, you don't do all that training and go all the way to Mexico to have this thing stopped like that. So they were able to let her keep going in the fight, but she took a second shot, and really they had no choice but to stop the fight, because the ear the tip of it was hanging in a way that, had she taken perhaps one or two good shots in the wrong direction, I know Joe Rogan on the commentary was over-exaggerating one good shot, but it definitely was one or two good shots away from perhaps ripping that ear right off or doing more damage there to it. So they stopped the fight. Jessica I went down there to prove a point, and she did, as she said here on The Fix, Queen of Cleveland. And definitely once she gets back and gets herself back into the mode here, we'll get her here on the show, and we'll talk to her about it. Congratulations, though, to Jessica I. Now the focus switches to Stipe Miocic as he goes out there and looks to get himself in line for a heavyweight title shot. And I'm looking to get Stipe here on the show leading up to his fight as well. But again, congrats to Jessica I. If you guys have not seen it, go look it. I know they've got the footage up. I think it might be on one of our Facebook pages. If not, we'll definitely get it posted for you guys here. But yeah, man. And you know what? I was primed for that one already, because as I'm in Erie doing my thing, I'm checking, of course, on my phone, doing all our social media and stuff, and I had some tweets about, and I had some messages on Facebook about Jessica Ai and what she did, and I'm like, oh man, of course I got to hear about it, before I get a chance to see it. So when I watched the fight, I kind of knew what I was going to see, but I didn't exactly. All I saw was messages like, man, she almost ripped her ear off. So, you hear that and you go, whoa, what am I about to watch? And it definitely lived up to it in the thing. So again, congratulations to her. UFC 180, Jessica Ai takes care of business and defeats Leslie Smith, and looking forward to having her on